Our next talk is by Tony Brooks, who is a leadership specialist. He was also a finalist in the Entrepreneur of the Year for the East Midlands Chamber of Commerce this year. Congratulations. And Tony's talk is to share with you the importance of focusing on your self-leadership to make you a more resilient, fulfilled and successful individual. That's a challenge, isn't it? He promises also to provide you with some strategies to help you in all of those areas. Thank you.
Hello? Testing? Ha! I'm here. Right, well, welcome all, and it's great to see so many of you here for the Scanning the Horizon event. I've been here 4 times now, and it's nice to be up speaking today. So a big thank you to Duncan and Toplis, first of all, for inviting me to speak along, although I did push my way in a bit at the first, actually. And also for you all for sparing your time to be here this morning, because I know how valuable time is. So a quick question for you to start off. We've been talking a lot about navigating the turbulent waters ahead. Who believes that their mindset will be equally as important as their skill set, if not more so, in navigating their way? By a quick show of hands. That's pretty much everybody, I think. Yeah, that's good. So I'm Tony Brooks. I'm a leadership specialist and a psychologist. And my passionate belief is that your mindset is the #1 factor in how well you'll navigate the changes and challenges ahead of you. So if any of you kept your hands down, I've got 25 minutes to prove that that is the case. And I shall work on that anyway. Because I've had my business, the Leadership Training Workshop, for I'm in my 10th year now. And whether you're a leader of a business or in business, I'm sure you will relate to the fact that it's very often a roller coaster ride of a journey. I've had incredible highs and actually incredible lows over the 10 years. And I'm sure that you'll have had that as well. And it's been my psychology that often has been the nub of that when things aren't going so well, or if I've got certain challenges I'm dealing with. So the aim of this 25 minutes is to give you just some quick, easy strategies, some background first of all, but some strategies that will help you, as it says, become more resilient, more fulfilled and more successful. Okay? Now in 25 minutes, maybe a slight percentage increase in that. That's what I'm aiming at doing. And I thought it was interesting this week. I was at a CIPD event, and one of the experts from Penna was asked whether strategy was a case more of mindset or planning. Now, interestingly, she said mindset, because she said that, you can have a plan, but you've got to be agile in your mindset to deal with it all of the time. And funny enough, she used the expression agile as you scan the horizon. And I thought how pertinent that was that I was speaking on that very subject this week. So without further ado, let's move on. I'm first of all going to talk about a concept of mine called positive insight, which is at the heart of what I speak about. First of all, it's how you view yourself. And Adrian said I talk about self-leadership. But how do you see yourself? What are your beliefs about yourself? How do you lead yourself? The second is how you view your situation. So how do you deal with the challenges that come in front of you as well? How do you see those? And then finally, how do you see others? The people who work for you, the people you come into contact with. And I use the expression positive insight because in my view, the more you develop some positive strategies to deal with all 3 of those areas, again, the more effective you will be in that. And I built that into a leadership model called PI Leadership, and I published my first book last year on that subject. And in that book, I talk about 7 steps to peak performance as a leader. And we're going to focus particularly on chapter 1, which is the first step, which is self-leadership today. So how I may be able to help you in this short amount of time, or if you speak to me after the coffee break. First of all, you do want to be more successful, resilient, fulfilled, and I'm sure that you probably all want to feel that. I have coached hundreds of business people, leaders, over the last 10 years to help them do that. And I don't want to worry you too much, but I am a qualified psychologist. And you know, to be honest, my fascination with psychology was more about what made me tick, first of all, or not tick on occasions. And now I love to help people with that as well. And you may want to be, because you've got that as well. Right, so why would we talk about mindset? So I've been giving a little bit of introduction into that. Why would we want to talk about positive inset or mindset? First of all, my view is that all of us, every single day, are having an internal battle. An internal battle between what I call your potential self and your destructive self. Because all of you out there, I know some of the faces, but I know this about all of you. You're all capable of achieving more than you will achieve. Your potential is huge. The thing that will hold you back, yeah, there will be some external events that will hold you back, but more than anything, it will be your destructive self. It'll be your negative self-talk, your negative self-beliefs. It'll be those things that will hold you back more so. So let's look at a few things on the downside, focusing more on the destructive self. The rates of depression have increased by a dramatic tenfold over the last 50 years. And even more worrying for me, who's got children in the room? By a quick show of hands. Yeah. Even more worrying is that the average age for the onset of depression is dropping all the time. I've seen one report that said 19.5 years now. These are worrying statistics. And the thing is as well, the Mental Health Organisation said that 66% of these cases are down to work-related stress. So we're all battling work-related stress every day. And here's some other worrying statistics. There's been a 495% increase in antidepressant prescriptions since 1991. 105 million days lost in the UK because of stress. Harvard research found that 96% of leaders are burnt out. Now, looking around this room, you don't look too burnt out today. So either the research is wrong, or you're all in the 4%. I don't know which one that is. And then the final one as well. On average, we check our mobile devices every 6.5 minutes. So this must be killing all of you now that you've not looked at your mobile phones for possibly about an hour and a half. So the coffee break, you can go and get your fix, but stick with me a little bit longer. And a couple of things around this, I think. One is, I don't know if you can relate to this, but I find that in business, in life, we look to achieve things, we don't particularly celebrate it, we set a higher bar. We keep moving and pushing forwards, and things aren't ever enough. I work with a business out in Gainsborough, and they achieved 30% growth 1 year. And I said to the business owner at the end, that's a great year. He said, yeah, but it's not enough. And you may relate to this, we want to keep moving and pushing it. One of the things I encourage all my clients to do is celebrate the good stuff that goes on. The other thing as well, Mark used the phrase massive uncertainty during his speech. I think we are in a period of massive uncertainty. And that also creates problems, stresses, and all those sort of issues that go on as well. And I believe actually there's a misnomer. People talk about being either mentally healthy or not mentally healthy. Whereas actually I believe we all operate on the spectrum. I think you'll relate to this. Some days you could even move quite a lot just in a day. The events that happen. So I personally believe we all move on a spectrum. And you'll have your own view about where you sit on that, where your sort of range is. But, even the most resilient people, a sequence of events can push us into dangerous territory. So what I'm going to be offering you today, just some strategies to try and keep you more in the good area, and when you start to move to the bad area, to help you with those as well. So, a bit depressing, sorry about that, on a Friday morning. But it's important we know the background to this. Let's look at some interesting stuff on the upside. They did a piece of research with GPs, and they put GPs in a positive frame of mind. Okay? What they found was that when they put the GPs in a positive frame of mind, they were 3 times more effective with the diagnosis. And actually they reached the diagnosis 20% faster. Now, would anyone in the room who hasn't heard me talk about this before like to hazard a guess as to how they put GPs in a positive frame of mind? Thoughts?
Tell them they're doing a great job.
Tell them they're doing a great job. I've not heard that one before. I normally get drugs, alcohol, more money. I relate to that one as well. Well, actually, the way that they put them in a positive frame of mind was the promise of sweets. I tell no lie. And they couldn't actually give them the sweets because that would have affected their blood sugar level and it would have been a confounding variable in the experiment. So it's just the promise of sweets. Now, GPs I tend to do something called anchor, which is they lock into a diagnosis too quickly sometimes. But when they were put in a positive frame of mind, this tendency was reduced or even eliminated, so becoming much more effective in the diagnosis. So you already have one really important piece of advice today. When you next go and see your doctor, make sure you've got a Mars bar in your pocket and promise it them. You'll get a better diagnosis. So there's that. Here's another great piece. I love this piece of research. They got a group of optimists and pessimists together, and they gave them a newspaper and they said, we want you to tell us how many images are in the newspaper. And here's the interesting results. There were 43 images. The optimist took a matter of seconds to give the answer, the pessimist took minutes. Why would that be? Because on the second page, in 2-inch letters, it said, stop reading the paper, there are 43 images. The optimist spotted it, the pessimist didn't. And here's something really interesting as well. They continued through the paper. On page 20, there was another sign that said, stop reading, come and collect £200. And the pessimist missed that as well. So, a lot of people talk about positive psychology being fluffy stuff, but actually being more optimistic will fuel your psychology in different ways, or make you see things in a different way. Here's another thing that won't surprise you. Who out there has to sell as part of their role, or actually as the main part of their role in a business by a quick show of hands? Where's Hannah Sang? Hello, Hannah. I know Hannah does a lot, you see. Now, this won't surprise you at all. If you can get a salesperson into a positive frame of mind, they will outperform an average salesperson by 56%. Now, that won't surprise you because there's probably nowhere where you have to take so many knocks and no's to push through and keep going. But again, the importance of a positive mindset. And I really believe this quote, I use this quote a lot. John Milton said, the mind in its own place can make a heaven of hell and a hell of heaven. You will have met people on your travels who do that. You may even relate to it yourself, but you'll have met people. I open up here, I used to sing around the pubs and clubs, okay? I still sing with a band actually, I used to sing around the pubs and clubs, but the one thing that struck me was, I used to go into some of the places where people hadn't got a lot, but they just seemed to make so much of it. And then you can see some of the top celebrities who have everything, and yet internally their world's falling apart. So the mind certainly can do that. That's why it's so important for us all to work on it. Here's a couple of exciting developments as well. Now, you may not think they're that exciting, but to me they are. The first one is the positive psychology movement. Now, up till 1998, psychology had been fascinated with problems of the mind. Freud's got a lot to answer for there. But they're absolutely fascinated with problems of the mind. 17:1 was the ratio of research done in that area. In 1998, Martin Seligman delivered a speech to the Psychological Association, and the International Positive Psychology Association was born, and I'm proud to be a member of that. And what that's more focused on now is looking at research. Like some of the examples we've been looking at today, quite amusing so far. Looking at how the mind can be used more effectively to serve us. Then another, if that wasn't exciting enough for you, another exciting development. The growth of neuroscience. It used to be believed that our neurologies were fixed. But now we know that if we use our neurology, it will actually change the shape of it, which is amazing stuff. And to illustrate that, I'll turn to an example. The example of London taxi drivers. So, what they found with London taxi drivers was, when the neuroscientists examined their brain, was that the part of the brain called the hippocampi, which some of you may have heard of, which is associated with navigation, spatial awareness was more developed in London taxi drivers than the average person. Now, I've had a few rides with London taxi drivers, I'm not quite sure about this research, but this is allegedly the case. So this is exciting because what it means, because they're exercising that part of their neurology, it was developing it more. So anyone who thinks your intelligence level is fixed, the way that you're processing is fixed, no longer the case, no longer the case. So let's, a bit of background there. You know, a little bit of some worrying stuff around what I call the destructive self and the danger that we all face of getting into problems of stress, depression, or just mind health issues without categorising it. But also then, what can be achieved if we can start to shift ourselves into a more positive way of thinking? So let's stick on this self-leadership thing. First of all, the destructive self. Some strategies to deal with this destructive self that's going on. Now, you will all have to deal with ants. Not the little insects running around your house. Anybody know what ants stands for, by any chance? Okay, good, I'm going to share something new. So it's called automatic negative thoughts. And you have thousands of these going on in your mind all the time. Some of it almost unconsciously. You have automatic negative thoughts going over and over. And the challenge is, you know, the thing is, you'll never be able to get rid of them. Anyone who can, if ever you talk to psychologists of any description, and they say you can eliminate negative self-talk or negative thinking, then it's incorrect. But what you can do is develop some strategies to deal with it. So I'm going to share with you a quick strategy around this. First of all, you become aware of it. So actually becoming aware that you've started to get into a pattern of negative thinking, because it can become a vicious circle and you can just spiral into it. So actually becoming aware you've gone into it is a really good starting point, and it's a way of actually diminishing the power of it. Then the first thing you can do is ignore it. You've done things time and time again before, but for some reason today your mind's telling you that you're going to fail. Okay, you're not going to work. You can very often identify to me negative thinking as nonsense if you just get that self-awareness above it. Or the second thing is, you can decide that it's an interesting message that you're giving yourself, but you need to find a more helpful perspective. I sometimes say to people, you know, have you ever been in that scenario where you've lost a major client and within about 10 seconds or a couple of minutes your whole business is falling apart? Well, and we do that, you know, so you can, something happens, but you can try and shift to a more helpful perspective. So it's working on that. And then the third is you can act. Negative thinking, to a degree, is there for survival. It's to keep us safe. The trouble is, it's gone into overdrive and overwhelm. But actually, it may be that some of this negative thinking isn't to be ignored, not to be shifted to a new perspective, but we need to act on it because it's telling us about a risk. But we need to become wiser at dealing with it rather than get sucked into it. Another quick strategy in terms of the destructive self. You will sometimes find yourself at a place of effect, which I call disempowerment. So things are happening, you are blaming the circumstances, blaming other people, justifying why you're there, trying to excuse it. I wouldn't embarrass you by asking you to put your hands up if you've been there, but you probably have all been there in your personal life or business life at some point. Well, I say to myself and I say to my clients, let's find one small step to start to take a move back up to cause. What is it that you have some control over that you can do? Because we can't control the Brexit vote, Trump becoming president, but we can control things within our world. And sometimes we can cripple ourselves into a state of disempowerment, but we can actually take a step, a small step. So wherever it is, look to take that small step first to move yourself forward. And also, how do you look at challenges? Are they on your way or in your way? Because I think to be fair to Americans, I think they're good at this. American business owners will wear mistakes like a badge of pride, you know, that they've been bankrupt or, you know, whatever, or gone through these experiences. I think we British aren't so good at this. I lost the microphone. Am I still on? Yeah. We're not so good at this. But seeing the challenges of being on our way, and part of what is called a growth mindset rather than a fixed mindset, which just means don't see yourself as perfect. See yourself as work in progress. Allow yourself to make mistakes. just know that you'll grow and develop over time. So some thoughts there on how you deal with this destructive side of things. And so we've only got so much time today, just wanted to share some of those with you. Then let's look at how you enhance your potential self. Now, first of all, you will spend your time in one of three places. You'll either be back here in the past, ruminating, reflecting over what happened before, feeling guilty, thinking about what you should have done, or you'll be in this place, which I must admit I still spend too much time, which is anxious about the future, worried about the future, what's to come. Now, I know we have to spend time in those places, but the place that will have the greatest impact is right here in the present. In the present moment is where we can do the most. So being, mindfulness and those kind of things are growing all the time. But working on focusing yourself on being in the moment, dealing with what's in front of you, is where you have the biggest impact. Raising your self-awareness, those kind of things. Also as well, you find that having quiet moments is when you'll be most creative. I don't know if you all relate to this, but I find I have my most creative moments at the strangest points in time. I go swimming, I'll have good ideas just swimming at the pool. Something that's come into my mind. When you force yourself, it's sometimes hard to do that. So I recommend to my clients, and I do this myself, sometimes I go to a coffee shop for half an hour with a blank piece of paper, no agenda, just see what comes to me. And it's surprising, the ideas that you might have. So let your creativity come free really more. Give yourself more quiet time, be present. Here's also a concept called act as if, from a psychologist and a philosopher called William James from the early 1900s. Now this is interesting in that our physiology and our psychology are connected. So the way that you act will change the way you feel. So I do a lot of presentation skills training with people, and I say, to feel confident, you need to act with confidence. That comes from your body posture, your body language. Because again, there's some interesting research done that said that if you smile more, it changes the way that you process things psychologically. So we think that when we smile at other people, it's just influencing them, but it's influencing ourselves as well. So act as if. Also, be mindful of the fact that we are all creating, as Alfred Korzybinski said, we're all creating a map of the territory. There's no reality. Quantum physics is fascinating looking at this, in that sometimes observation can change things. So we are all creating a perspective of what's going on. Something could happen here now, ask us tomorrow, we'll all have a different view of what happened. And that's powerful as well, because if we're able to create a different perspective on reality, then it gives us power. Because we're all filtering information, senses coming into us. How are we dealing with that? Our filters are affected by our parenting, our experiences in life, the way that we process what the media is saying, all of those kind of things. And to illustrate this, let me just share with you another amusing bit of research. Has people heard of the game Tetris? By a quick show of hands? Nearly everybody. So it's a computer game where you drop blocks. Now what they did was they got a group of students together for 3 days to play Tetris the whole day long. To sit there playing Tetris. Now my daughter's 18, she's gone to university to study music, and she would be up for this, anyway, making a bit of extra money, okay, rather than me have to pay towards a loan or what have you. But they got them doing that. But what was interesting, was what happened after. So they got some reports back from the students. First student said, I was walking along the road, thinking that building there needed to drop across into that slot. Another student went into the supermarket, said, I saw this cereal box and I thought it should drop into that slot. Now music, but powerful, because what had happened with them, they had been training their minds to look for patterns. So if we can train our minds to look for patterns in that way, can we do it in other ways? So something I started doing 4 years ago was to write down 5 good things about the day. And I've continued to do it. I did it in good faith at first. But I actually believe it's making me more likely to spot that message on page 2 of the newspaper. I see opportunity, I see the good stuff going on, because we can get so wrapped up in the bad stuff going on. the bad stuff that's going on around us. So I've worked on shifting my psychology just through this simple technique. So I'd encourage you, if you don't do maybe the Mars bar in the pocket for the doctor, but go away and just do those couple of things if nothing else. Try it for 21 days, see how you feel. Won't take you long. And to start it off, just want you to turn to your partner, who's sitting next to you, and what we do actually rather than that, just share one good thing that's happened in 2016 for you. Just have 30 seconds just to share it between you. I might leave you doing that for a while. okay, that's great. That's brilliant. It's good to hear the energy. Now, some of you may not be accustomed to sharing the good stuff, so you might have felt a little bit different. And I've heard that, it's good to do this for your children as well. Maybe at the end of the day say, what were three good things about the day today? I've tried it with my daughter. She always goes, Dad, don't try that psychological rubbish on me. So there you go. The final thing I wanted to touch on is beliefs. I know you're all itching for a coffee, just a couple of minutes more. Just something on beliefs. Who's this? Roger Bannister. What's he famous for? 4 Minute Mile. Now here's the thing. Nobody believed that a human being could run a 4 minute mile up to 1952 when he did it. They believed it wasn't humanly possible. He did it. How long do you think it took before somebody else did it? It was 46 days, okay? And another 10 people did it within 12 months. Incredible. What's going on here? Wasn't humanly possible, then somebody does it 46 days after, and then 10 times in 12 months. It was something called the success cycle in action, because there was a collective belief about the human potential. So people took action on that, you got results. Roger Bannister broke that belief cycle. As soon as somebody saw him do it, they said, hang on a minute, if he can do it, I can do it. I'll train differently, I'll approach things differently. And so they also started to achieve it well. So think about this for yourselves, whether you're out there working in business or leading business. What's your view of what you do? Do you believe great leaders are born or made? I believe they're made. You have to have some potential there, but I believe they're made more than they're born. Do you believe that leading a business is a joy or a challenge? Because those beliefs are the things that are driving your potential and your actions. So check your beliefs in all aspects of life. So what I'm offering you today, or what I've offered you today, in the short time I've had with you, I'm not suggesting you go out with rose-tinted glasses, okay? That's sometimes a criticism thrown at positive psychologists. But I am saying going out with healthy, positive insight, with a positive view of yourself, a positive view of the situations and of the people that you lead and that you have to deal with. And I believe that will make you more successful, resilient and fulfilled. So what next? You could do one thing differently. You could take a Mars bar to the doctors. Okay, you could do that. You could try that approach to handling negative self-talk, or at least become more aware of it, that it's happening. You could look to develop more of a growth mindset. Stop being a perfectionist. See yourself as work in progress. See challenges and mistakes as something to learn from all the time. You could be present more. Stop being over here and be present more. You can act as if you can walk into rooms and change your physiology to change your psychology. You can write down 5 positive things every day. Do it for 21 days. They say it takes that long to start a habit. You could look at your belief systems. But do or do not, there is no try, as the great Yoda said. Don't go away from today. I implore you or to go away from today and think either, what the hell was he on about? Or actually, it's quite interesting, some of that. Do one thing differently. Because insanity is doing the same things over and over and expecting different results. So from my talk, from other talks today, do something differently. I also got some copies of my book today if anybody's interested. There's some business cards on the registration desk if you want to connect. And with the book, you can come to a free event in the new year where I look at self-leadership, identity and direction. So more expansive view of today and also looking at identity and direction. Or you can just connect. But I've hopefully helped you feel a little bit less like that, or given you some strategies to feel a little bit less like that, and more like that. Thank you very much.